welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I'm going to be giving you my November wrap up. I read 11 books this month and this is the most amount of books I have read since January of this year, so I'm kind of proud of myself. I was just on a roll, I don't know. Yeah, so the first book that I read this month was hashtag Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. The reason that I read this is because it was on the YALSA top 10 list, and that is a library list, and I was a librarian, so I wanted to see why this particular book made it to the top 10, and I still don't have an answer for that. This book was interesting. I ended up giving it 2 stars, which, yeah. So the premise of this book is basically the President of the United States has decided that all criminals get sent to basically an island and they have to like fight to the death. And it's all live, like live streamed to your phone. So our main character is convicted of murdering her stepsister, which she says she didn't do. And she is taken to this island and all of a sudden she like kills her killer, and she kills like the person who's trained to kill her. And she wins and ends up killing him. So I don't really know how to describe this to you. There were basically 2 subplots that were confusing. So that was the main subplot, and then another subplot is that when this main character was younger, she was kidnapped for like a week or something, and now her kidnapper is on the loose, and it's just as confusing as I'm making it sound. I didn't like this. The writing was fine. It was pretty fast paced. It just like didn't make sense at all. I wanted to read this because I thought it was so weird that it was on the YALSA top 10, and I still think that. I don't understand why it was on the YALSA top 10. I don't think it was great. Obviously, give it 2 stars. And yeah, so I don't know. Also, like, YALSA put an absolutely remarkable thing on the top 20, and it's not a young adult book, so I'm having trouble like agreeing with anything that they do now. So that's where we are with that. The next book that I read for the month of November was Scythe. I wanted to reread this before I went into the toll, and yeah, I love Scythe. This is my second time reading it, and second? I believe it's my second time reading it. And I love it. I still gave it 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. I gave it 5 stars the second time I read it. If you don't know, which you should definitely know because this book is amazing, Neil Shusterman creates a world where there is no death. So they have created scythes, which are people who glean members of society, and it's all about hidden politics in this world, and about Citra and Rowan, who I really like, and I still gave this 5 stars. I wanted to reread this before I read The Toll, so that means that I reread Thunderhead as well. The first time I read Thunderhead, I gave it 4 stars, and I gave it 4 stars this time around as well. Reason I gave 4 stars instead of 5 stars is because he introduces a character named Grayson Tolliver, who I am not a fan of. I wasn't a fan of him the first time. I wasn't a fan of him the second time. I don't understand why he's done this. I wish he would have focused on Citra and Rowan. I wish he would have focused on anything else except this new character, which I still like. I reread this and I still didn't understand why he included him. So let's get to talking about The Toll. So let me preface this by saying The Toll was my most anticipated book of the year. I had pre-ordered this back in May and it came out November 5th or whatever, so I've had this on my radar since Thunderhead came out. So I am super disappointed to say that I only gave this 2.5 stars. I first gave it 3 stars, and then I was so angry the whole rest of the day after I finished this that I dropped it down 0.5 stars. I don't even know how to tell you what this is about, except that it was not what I thought it was going to be. Basically, what I think, in my opinion, is Neil Shusterman got too political, which I didn't love, and he just like went off. I don't know. I don't know. Scythe was so good. Thunderhead was respectable. The Toll, I can tell you 100% that I hated. I hated The Toll. It was my most anticipated book of the year, and I hated it. So I'm super disappointed. I don't even know what to do with this book. Do I keep it because I loved Scythe? Like, I have no idea what to do with this monster. So it is what it is. It happens. Going in a completely different direction, the next book that I read after The Toll was The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. I had never read this before. I obviously have seen the movie a billion times. The movie came out in 2001 and the first book came out in 2000. So yeah. So in the book, Mia is actually 14 instead of, I think the movie like depicts her as 16. So she's definitely less mature in the books, and it shows. I didn't hate it. I don't think it like standed the test of time, but it's been 19 years since it came out, so that's okay. I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was okay. It was fine. I didn't love it. I was definitely laughing at some things, and other things I was just like literally cringing because it's been 19 years since it came out and some things just didn't hold up, and that's okay. But it was good. Something that completely caught me off guard though was that in the book, her grandma was like awful. And in the movies, her grandma is like, turns out to be her best friend. So that really caught me off guard. I did not see that coming because I've seen the movie so many times. So I thought that was weird dynamic that they changed that so much in the movies. So yeah. And then the next book that I actually listened to this book, and that is The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. I wanted to like this book a lot, and I ended up not liking this book at all and giving it 2 stars. I am looking for a female romance that's actually like good, and I can't find one. Haven't been able to find one that I've really liked at all, and I don't know why that is. I didn't like Girls of Paper and Fire. I didn't like that at all, but that was fantasy, so maybe that was my fault. And I didn't like this one, and this one was contemporary. I don't know if it's because I listened to it, and I just didn't listen to it like just over the span of a couple of days. It took me a couple weeks because I was listening to it not all the time. So I don't know. Could have been the narrator. It could have been just that it was not a great contemporary, and I really like contemporaries, and it just was like, why are you doing this? It wasn't good. Basically, it's about this girl named Abby, and she's really eccentric, and she classifies herself as fat, and she's okay with it, and she is interning at this like little boutique that she loves, and she falls for this girl who she goes to school with who has like a dangerous past, and it was stupid. But that's okay. So I'll give that 2 stars. And okay, so the next book that I read was one that I was really anticipating this year, and that is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I ended up giving this 3 stars because half of the time I had no idea what was going on. And I would like to echo the words of Riley Marie and say that they should not have classified this as a vampire book. Yes, there were vampires in the book, but this was an historical fiction, and I don't necessarily like historical fiction, and maybe that's why they categorized it as a vampire book, because I would have probably never read this if it was just marketed to me as a historical fantasy. So I see what they did there. Okay, so I didn't love this. It's set in New Orleans in the 1800s, and Celine is our main character, and she falls for Bastien, and Bastien is maybe paranormal. What I wrote in my Goodreads review was that I was underwhelmed, and I don't even like feel like talking about this because it was so not what I expected it to be, and I'm pretty disappointed. And why are all my like anticipated releases of the year sucking? I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was okay. I read it like really fast though because I don't think I was absorbing anything. So there's that. The next book that I read was Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This was once again fine. I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't the best smutty romance I've ever read. It wasn't the worst smutty romance I've ever read. I really liked the ending. I actually really did like the main character, Georgette, and the love interest was fine. He grew at the end. That's all that matters. Basically, the premise of this is that Georgette is in love with her brother's best friend, and he's back in town after he got injured and can't play baseball anymore, and she is a literal clown. She is a clown for a living, and they fake date, which is probably one of my favorite tropes. So I was very excited about that, and then things happen and the ending is great, and I gave it 3 stars. I was kind of bored in the middle, which is probably why I gave 3 stars. Like I was like, should I even finish reading this? Should I soldier on? And I did. So 3 stars. It was fine. The dirty talk was great. Yay. Next book that I read was Girls on the Verge by Sharon Biggs Waller. I really like this. The only reason I ever decided to pick this up was because Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads read an arc of it and really liked it. And I can say this was good. This is a story about a girl who, from Texas, that's important, who gets pregnant and wants to get an abortion, but the restrictions in Texas are so tight for an abortion that she goes on this road trip, and I'm gonna stop there because more things happen. And it was really good. It's super short. This was less than 300 pages. I think I got through it in a day. I just really liked the message of this book, and she talks about in the author's note how just the limitations in Texas and other states are ridiculous, and I agree, with women not being able to make their own choices. I actually liked how this was written. She goes like back in time. She's basically telling the story of like everything that's happened. Like she talks about what the judge said. She talks about going to a women's resource center that turns out to be like a Catholic based bullshit center where they try to bully her into keeping the baby. But there is a happy ending, and I really like this book, and I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, I gave it 4 stars. So Girls on the Verge, this was very good. Feminist as fuck. It was great. The next book that I read was Hope and Other Punchlines by Julie Buxbaum. I read her, not her first book, but another one of her books called Tell Me 3 Things, and I really liked that one. And so I wanted to give this one a try. This one was really good. I gave this 4 stars. It was a great hard-hitting contemporary, which is my favorite. But basically the premise of this book is that Abby is famous for being the face of Baby Hope, which is a fictional picture that was taken on 9/11, and in the background you can see people running and the towers falling, and she's the center of it, and it's given people hope about the future. And she's also been blamed for the war, and so she's now 16 years old, and she's just trying to deal with being Baby Hope. And yeah, and then there's another story of Noah, and his father, he believes, is in the background of the Baby Hope photo, and he's trying to see, is his dad alive? Why is he in this photo? Everyone in the photo lived. So this is really good. I think it was good for a younger audience, probably actual teenagers, not me, who hadn't ever really experienced 9/11. I was 11 when 9/11 happened, so I remember it very clearly, but this was for teenagers who maybe were alive when it happened but were babies, or like were born in 2002. It was really good. I really like this a lot. I gave this 4 stars. It was good contemporary. And then the last book that I read was Confessions of a High School Disaster, freshman year, by Emma Chastain. I loved this. It's stupid. First of all, okay, she's 14, so it's her freshman year, and she's 14, and it's written in a diary style. So the very first thing that happens is her mom says she's leaving for 4 months to go to Mexico to write her book. So she's writing everything that's happening her freshman year. I understand why people would hate this book because, spoiler alert, there's cheating. And for some reason, people hate that trope, even though it's a real thing that happens. I don't mind reading about cheating. I don't know why. I know that sounds like I'm an also awful person. I'd never do it. That doesn't matter. It's a real thing that happens. So I was able to look past that because of the circumstances of the cheating, and I gave this 4 stars. I cannot wait to read her sophomore and junior years. I have them on my Amazon wishlist. I can not freaking wait to read those. I love this book. It was so good. I understand why people would hate it. It does not have a great rating on Goodreads. However, I bumped it up because I gave it 4 stars. Oh well. So that is everything that I read this month. I am reading my shelves, so I'm not really buying any books anymore, and I was able to read 1 book off of each shelf of my first shelf. So I am making progress, kinda. Sure. I'm currently reading Words in Dark Blue by Kath Crowley, and I'm about 100 pages in, and it's pretty good, so you'll hear about that. And that's it. Thanks for watching my video. See you in my next one. Bye.